Okay, so one of the biggest dominoes that was left to fall, Russell Wilson has signed with the New York Football Giants. They signed Jameis Winston earlier. Seemingly, I'm guessing, I think Winston will have a chance to win the job, perhaps, if he has a great preseason, but probably now he will be a backup, and Russell Wilson will be the starter, you assume. It's a curious deal for a couple reasons. So, for one thing, I think, let's talk about the details itself. It's a $10.5 million guaranteed contract for 1 year, but he can essentially double that depending on how well he plays. There's half of the contract is in incentives, essentially, so he's more or less betting on himself. We don't know as of right now what the exact details will be on that, but it is interesting. So while Jameis Winston's technically only making $2.5 million less than what Russell Wilson is making for the Giants, Wilson has a ton more incentives, so you think they probably buy into him a little bit. The question you have to ask is kind of from both perspectives of, what is this doing? What is the end goal here? And hey, I'm always a believer in, if you can get a better quarterback, upgrade at the quarterback position. Not the worst thing that can happen. But Russell Wilson's 36 years old, far from a young guy, and, seems like his best years are already behind him, even if, for my money, he's still a pretty effective quarterback, just not the borderline Hall of Fame quarterback he was for a stretch in Seattle. There's good things about this Giants team. There absolutely is. Malik Nabers is a very good receiver, and Malik Nabers is probably going to be happy about this situation because Wilson can definitely throw the ball up to him at times. The offensive line has Andrew Thomas, who's very good. It has some other pieces I don't hate, but it is not a fantastic offensive line. And its defense, they really went and pumped some resources into the secondary, trying to make that good. They pumped a lot of resources into the edge rush position. So I think what they are thinking is they trust their offensive line enough. They still have the number 3 overall pick, and they still have an early pick in every other round. They can, unless I'm sure they've made some trades that I can't think of, but for the most part, they have very good draft capital. They can hopefully build up the other issues of this roster. And, my podcast co-host Kyle brought this up on the podcast of, is it possible the Giants just think that they're better than a lot of us think they are, which is certainly possible. Maybe they feel like this is a team that can be competitive right now. And listen, you can talk yourself into it if you're a Giants fan, right? They do have Malik Nabers. They do have other receivers that have shown flashes, even if it hasn't been consistent enough, like Darius Slayton, like Wan'Dale Robinson. And then you have, some offensive line pieces. You can add some more. A defense that, I still don't know if I would say this is great across the board, and you have a lot of new faces. We've seen that fail a million times over, but we've also seen it succeed before. Philadelphia had a lot of new faces last year, and that worked, right? So it's interesting, and it kind of goes to show where they're at. They're ready to be good right now, and they want to at least be a competent franchise again. Because you know what? Listen, they've had plenty of good draft picks recently. What they need is a decent season, and they've also had one of those recently. They won a playoff game a couple years ago, but maybe that's some of the logic here. But I don't know. Interesting move. Personally, I'm curious to see how this goes. I don't know if it's the move I would have made, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.